Okay, we're live. Let's give it 30 seconds and we'll get started. Okay, it's Ravine from Hello Hire, and today we're going to be talking about how to hire agents in a competitive labor market. I'm also going to show you how to find top quality agents while spending less time, money, and resources on recruiting. I understand that you're probably experiencing hiring challenges caused by a shortage of qualified candidates. And if you are, this will be the most important workshop you attend this year. And heading into 2023, this will be the best way to start the new year off on the right foot. If you're responsible for putting butts in seats, this workshop is for you. You might sit on the operational side and are worried about hitting your KPIs. After all, it's not just having butts in seats. You need the right agents that are going to stick around. On the other hand, you might sit on the HR or talent acquisition side and are much closer to the hiring challenges. Your recruiters are burnt out, overworked, and have a hard time trying to find the quality agents your operational team is looking for. Either way, this workshop is for you. I don't need to tell you this, but hiring agents is harder than ever. Everybody is hiring, and we're no longer just competing with other contact centers. We're competing with entire industries, new working models, new life priorities. Hiring great talent has never been harder. But it's not your fault. With all of the other post pandemic changes, we've also been hit with a huge change in the job market. We went from having more people than jobs to now having more jobs than people. It's a fundamental shift, and that changes everything. We were told the labor shortage was because of the pandemic, and that when the subsidies ended and the virus was gone, everyone would come back to work. But that was just plain wrong. This labor shortage isn't new. It's been a growing problem for over 10 years. It just hit us really hard because of the pandemic. Take a close look at this graph. It shows the number of people voluntarily leaving the workforce every year since 2009. In 2020, there was so much uncertainty that people who still had their jobs really held on to it. But in 2021, you'll notice we went right back to the linear trend. The labor shortage is here to stay, and it's our new normal. The biggest problem we hear these days is that there just aren't enough qualified applicants. You get people to apply to your job, but it feels like the majority of them are just not qualified. And it's hard to find the quality that you're looking for. Another huge problem is ghosting. When you finally get in touch with a candidate and schedule an interview, almost 50% of the time, the candidate doesn't show up. And you're getting ghosted because the candidate that you're going after and chasing essentially took a job somewhere else or wasn't interested in the first place. But that doesn't help you and your team because it really shouldn't be at the cost of time. And when the ghosting happens over and over and over again, it is really frustrating and demoralizing. And at the end of the day, these challenges are making it impossible to meet our hiring objectives. If we don't fill our seats, or even worse, if we fill our seats with the wrong agent, it's bad for business. We'll never be able to deliver an exceptional customer experience, and our KPIs will definitely suffer. The problem is your hiring process. We are doing it all wrong. We're recruiting like we did 50 years ago, and we're experiencing the symptoms of an outdated and unfair recruiting process. We are pushing the best candidates away. Anytime, any friction, any step at all from when someone expresses interest to when they have an interview is bad. That friction is causing you to lose out on your best candidates. And any time that you take in responding or engaging with a candidate increases the chances of that person accepting another job and essentially ghosting you at the interview. Take that further with delays in scheduling, aligning your calendar, going back and forth. All of this extends the time that it takes to meet the candidate. And that time, again, creates a higher likelihood of losing the great candidates. And throwing money at ads or hiring more recruiters isn't the answer. Don't get me wrong. When you're ramping up, you need ads and you need recruiters. But if you do everything the way you've always done it, you're going to be wasting valuable time and money. Here are some of the frequently asked questions that we hear all the time. And they really paint the problem being felt by a large portion of the industry. The good news is that you're not alone. However, those who have solved the problems we're looking at ask these questions in a very different way. And so here are the questions you should be asking. Instead of asking, how do we get more qualified applicants? We should be asking, how do we make it easy to apply and engage? Instead of asking, how do we stop the no shows and the candidate ghosting? We should be asking ourselves, how do we engage quickly and entice candidates to show up? And lastly, instead of asking, how do we fill our open positions when there is so much competition? We should be asking, how do we act fast and hire the best people before the competition? And the answer is you eliminate all friction and interview every single applicant within 24 hours. Let that sink in for a second. You want to go straight from someone being interested to them having an interview without adding any work for the candidate or your recruiter. And I know that right away it sounds scary. It sounds crazy. How is this even possible? I'm here to tell you that and to show you that it is possible. But that's how you're going to beat these problems is really by opening the doors to the world of candidates. If you look at recruiting the old way, you'll notice that we spend so much time and energy trying to screen applicants, essentially screen people out. We spend hours looking at resumes, contacting candidates, scheduling phone screens, doing phone screens, scheduling interviews. And then finally, when we do bring someone in for an interview, we're spending hours on someone who isn't a good fit, which we probably could have figured out earlier in the process, and on no shows. And this is because resumes don't tell us almost anything about a candidate. When you're hiring an agent, you're looking for communication, enthusiasm, energy, and commitment. These traits are critical, but they're also impossible to assess from a resume. And so we created speed hiring and speed interviews as a recruiting process that lets you conduct short virtual interviews with every single interested and qualified candidate within 24 hours of them applying. It works, it's very simple. You schedule some time to interview, you invite your candidates in your applicant pool, and you speed interview them, and you back-to-back short video virtual interviews. And so when you do that, you eliminate all of the time you spend on screening and resumes and phone screens, scheduling, and you go straight to these back-to-back interviews where you're able to quickly assess candidates, and it shortens the entire process by 80%. And some of the recruiting problems that get solved when you do it this way is, you no longer are trying to find the best fit candidates from a pile of resumes. You're no longer wasting time on ghosting and no shows. You don't have to rely on ads and agencies or hiring more recruiters when you're ramping up. You don't have those scheduling delays and those communication delays that essentially push candidates away and increase the ghosting. And so all of these problems get solved when you adopt a speed hiring process. And so when you do implement speed hiring, you go from not having enough candidates or qualified candidates to a fast and repeatable way to find top talent. You go from feeling hopeless or overwhelmed with the employment market to feeling exciting about being able to hire the best people quickly. And your average day goes from choosing from sort of the candidates that are left or available in the pool to cherry picking the best talent. And you go from being held back by lost opportunities to being able to execute on growth plans. And so the old way is really, chasing candidates, leaving voicemails, following up, getting called back, all with the hopes of booking an interview. And the new way is really just to bring interested and qualified candidates to you to interview without having to do any work. And the old way is really one-on-one interview scheduling where you have these no shows. You have to have one recruiter for every single person that you're going to interview to doing one to many. And so when you can interview many people at a time, your recruiters aren't wasting time with no shows and they're able to engage with interested candidates quickly. And you go from a process where you're screening an application or a resume and rejecting someone just by looking at words to actually meeting someone face to face and making sure that we are fairly and consistently assessing each person. A few case studies. Zed Customer Solutions, their BPO, they spent 86% less time recruiting and replaced the phone screen step altogether. Pandora, in their seasonal ramp up, spent 71% less time recruiting. And this multi-location franchise group spends 81% less time recruiting, with the candidates being brought to them. Great people are the foundation to a great business. We want to help you hire them faster. And I'm happy to say, if you're here and if you're watching this workshop right now, your first job is on us. Send us a message, LinkedIn, connect with us in any way. You got our phone, email, website, and your first hire is on us. Thank you for being here, and good luck with your hiring in 2023.